Let's continue this size versus skill debate. In yesterday's video, we talked about 260-pound Bradley Martin challenging 400-pound strongman Brian Shaw to a street fight. Who would win? Because we all know Bradley Martin is the street fighting expert. Well, on that same podcast, Bradley Martin and Brian Shaw talked about who else Brian could beat in a street fight. Mainly people who he has a size advantage over, because who has a size advantage over Brian Shaw? Pretty much no one. So they both discussed who would win in a fight out of Brian Shaw and Conor McGregor, Brian Shaw, Tyson Fury, Brian Shaw, Francis Ngannou. And because Brian Shaw is an absolute behemoth of a man, I find these topics extremely interesting. Also, I'd just like to say, I appreciate all the love and support on yesterday's video. You guys came through and hit it with 3,000 likes. I've been a little bit shadow banned recently because I got a copyright strike on my channel the other day, and I also had a community guidelines violation a couple months ago. So I'm basically in YouTube's naughty corner for a few months. So the chances are a lot of you guys have either been unsubscribed from my channel or don't get my videos recommended to you anymore. The only real solution is to just wait until these strikes and guideline violations go from my channel, which is going to be probably another few months. Just make sure that you are subscribed and you've got that bell notification on turned to all notifications. And if that fails you, always remember I upload every single day around 9 p.m. UK time. Appreciate all the love and support. So first we've got Brian Shaw talking about if he would be able to beat Conor McGregor in a fight. Let's see what he says.
And I think you're at that level of so much mass, so much strength, and just a little bit of knowledge can go a crazy long way in like a street fight.
Yeah.
So you versus Conor McGregor, who wins? Street fight.
Well, see, this again is an interesting one.
Oh, just say it, dude. I think you crush him.
Yes, I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it's just too. I mean, here's the thing.
You're humble. I love it.
He would get a few shots, and no doubt, because he's so quick.
Yeah.
Right. It would be me getting a hold of him. I would need to get a hold of him.
Yeah.
And if I could, again, it would be the same kind of game. Would be like I would need to take him down. Have to.
Yeah.
Right. And then I would just use my body weight advantage and have a little bit of technique. And that, I mean, what is he going to do? What would I have on him? Like, 200 plus pounds, man.
Yeah, it's insane.
Like, it's crazy. So that's what I think, especially, if I was in an aggressive situation with him. But again, you're saying like in a street fight, if that's what you're using, I would bet on me. I would, yeah.
Is Brian Shaw absolutely delusional? Conor McGregor would maul Brian Shaw in a street fight. What an absolute idiot. I am only joking. Got ya. Yeah, so Brian Shaw's completely right here. If he was able to grab a hold of Conor McGregor, then it's kind of over for McGregor. Although, are we talking about juiced up McGregor, or are we talking about 145 pounds McGregor? Because I always talk about how physicality matters, and juiced up McGregor was a good solid, maybe 200 pounds. But still, I'm only being playful here. Even a juiced up McGregor probably wouldn't have much of a chance against Brian Shaw in a grappling exchange. Now, in a street fight, could McGregor win? I mean, you never say never. It is possible. As I say, you've just got to be a little bit more clever with how you attack. So McGregor would need to stomp on those knees, kick to those balls, some hard low kicks and calf kicks, all whilst fighting, backing up, because Brian Shaw would just be like that, walking towards McGregor. Brian Shaw's not going to be fast, but we know that McGregor's got good footwork, and if he uses his karate style, he can fight backing up pretty well. And you want a good example of this? That time Conor McGregor and Hathor Bjornsson had a little bit of a gentle sparring session. Now, obviously, you take this with a pinch of salt because they were just playing around, and Hathor said after this that if he actually tried, he would crush McGregor. But this gives you a little bit of an idea about how you would have to be in a street fight if you're fighting someone as big as Hathor Bjornsson or as big as Brian Shaw. Watch how McGregor moves.
No. Oh, the mountain slayer. Climb that mountain. Oh, 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 oh.
So as we could see there, McGregor was fighting whilst backing up. It's something I talk about a lot on this channel. Now, of course, if this was a real fight, Hafthor Bjornsson would be trying a lot harder than this. He'd be putting on a lot more pressure. Obviously, he had cardio issues here. This is when he was a lot more jacked and he was just doing strongman training. But if you watch McGregor when Hafthor Bjornsson puts the pressure on right now, look the way he backs up. See the way he's got that footwork? That's essentially how you would have to fight someone who was a lot bigger. You need to have that footwork to be able to back up and move out of the way. And that's how McGregor would have to fight Brian Shaw and hope that Brian Shaw gets tired. The only problem with these strongmen is that they actually have pretty good endurance. Think about the strongman events. Everything is either for reps or endurance based, combined with strength. Nothing is really ever a 1 rep max within strongman. It's always lifting heavy stuff in an endurance based manner. Think of the Atlas stones, pulling the truck, farmers walks. So if I had to bet who would win in a street fight over Brian Shaw and Conor McGregor, I'm going to take Brian Shaw. Next is an interesting one. Brian Shaw talks about if he could beat Tyson Fury in a street fight. I'm intrigued to see what he's going to say here.
Tyson Fury. He's bigger.
So he's bigger.
A lot bigger.
He's a lot bigger. Now, and again, in boxing, no.
No,
Yeah,
no. I'm not
that's
saying
not,
that.
Yeah. That's ridiculous. Like you're not, that's a crazy conversation to have because you know, the level he is. You know, again, I think it would be getting, what I would have to do is get past the punches.
Yeah.
I'd have to, right? So it'd be more of a sumo type of like, let's just go.
Yeah.
Right? Where I'm not trying to give him space because I don't want to be in that where he's
you don't
got
want
the
to be in
big
that
advantage.
range.
That's the question, right? Like how many shots could he get on me before I could get to where I could get a hold of him?
Yeah.
And take that punching advantage away from him.
Right.
Right. So that one's a tougher, much tougher.
Yeah, that one's harder.
Now, this is a pretty interesting debate because Brian Shaw and Tyson Fury are similar heights, if you want to go off Tyson Fury's listed height as 6'9". But does anyone really believe he's 6'9"? I think he's more like 6'7". But Brian Shaw's right. He would have to get past the punches. And who you think would win this fight completely depends on the situation. Because, for example, we're talking about a street fight. If Tyson Fury and Brian Shaw were just standing there squared off with each other, with a little bit of distance between each other, and then Tyson Fury gets the first punch in, I'd take Tyson Fury all day. And let's be honest, that's how a lot of street fights start. A lot of them will start with a bit of a sucker punch. So if Tyson Fury is able to get that first shot off, bang, before Brian Shaw even starts to engage, then I'd take Tyson Fury. But if it was in close quarters and Brian Shaw is able to grab Tyson Fury first, I'd take Brian Shaw because Tyson Fury doesn't really have any grappling experience. Tyson Fury and Darren Till had a little bit of an MMA spar a few years ago, and Darren Till out-grappled Tyson Fury. So if Darren Till is able to out-grapple Tyson Fury, then you best believe that Brian Shaw is going to be able to. So that hypothetical fight, it's hard to say. It really just depends on who makes the first move because they are both more equal in physicality and both have their strengths in different areas. But if I had to put money on it, I'd probably have to go with Tyson Fury, and I would bank on the fact that he would be able to punch Brian Shaw before Brian was able to get to him. Next, this is also interesting. They talk about Brian Shaw versus Francis Ngannou.
Francis Ngannou.
Oof.
That's gotta be the hardest one.
That's for sure. Yeah, because he's skilled in a whole different way.
Yeah.
Right. And what is his body weight is?
I think he's like, I feel like he's like 230.
230.
He's heavier.
So
What do you know
that's
his body weight? Can someone Google his body weight? I want to be certain about this.
yeah.
Google that. Yeah, Google that real quick. I think he's around there. I'm not. He's a bigger dude. I've met him. He's a big guy.
And an athlete, man.
And he's an MMA fighter.
Yes. Yeah. So he's skilled in everything there.
Yeah. And he almost knocked out Fury, dude.
Yes.
That was insane.
I don't see this is the thing and
257, excuse me.
So he's bigger. Yeah, a little bit bigger. Almost 260.
Almost 260. So I could probably take him. He's 255. It's like light.
Easy. Yeah. That one I don't know, man. I again it's here's the deal with me, man. I'm competitive, you know that. So it's like if I really needed to do it.
That's where mine's at.
Yes,
my mind's at.
Yes. If here's the deal. If I had to fight him and my life was on the line, like I'm going hard, right? Like
Yeah.
for
I
sure.
feel like you have to have that mentality.
Yes.
Brian Shaw versus Francis Ngannou. I would take Francis Ngannou all day in that fight. Brian Shaw said, if my life was on the line and I was really aggressive and I went for it and I just saw red, bro, then he thinks he would get it done. But imagine if Francis Ngannou's life was on the line. Francis is massive, he's strong, and he's extremely skilled when compared to Brian Shaw within the realm of MMA. He can strike, and he's got absolutely godly power with super long arms, and he also can wrestle. You have to remember, Francis Ngannou has got a lot of muscle. He's 260-ish pounds lean. If Brian Shaw was to get to the same body fat percentage as Francis Ngannou, he'd probably need to get another 40, maybe 50 or 60 pounds off him, which actually puts them a lot closer in weight than you realise. So Brian Shaw versus Francis Ngannou. Francis Ngannou all day. And one thing I like about Brian, because he's been doing the MMA training the last 6 months, he understands how hard it is. He understands what it takes. He's not like Bradley, where he's just having these conversations to be provocative and to be a little bit controversial. Bradley was challenging these professional fighters, but they're not really doing anything about it, not even having a spar with them or doing any martial arts training himself, not that I'm aware of. Brian Shaw was in it. He was in the trenches. So him having these debates and talks, you don't really mind, because even though it's all hypothetical anyway, he understands that there's levels to the game, regardless of size. And that's what he talks about here.
With any of these guys you're naming, 100% all respect, because the thing that I did gain with getting into the fighting is the respect of the training that it takes to be where they are.
Insane.
Is ridiculous, right? And it's not easy at all, right? So the skills that they have developed have come from years and years of hard training. And so for me, you know, where I was basically, I put a hard 6 months, give or take, into it. My skill level had progressed a lot, but there is I'm still a very novice
I get it.
level.
So I like that about Brian Shaw. He's shown his respect to the game. So who do you think would win in the fight out of Brian Shaw and McGregor, Brian Shaw and Tyson Fury, and Brian Shaw, Francis Ngannou? How do you see those hypothetical fights playing out? Appreciate all the love and support on the channel. Also, whilst I got a few of you here, make sure you check out my music down below if you want some hardcore hip-hop to add to your gym playlist, help you get psyched up and get a new PB. Like this video. Appreciate you all. See you tomorrow.